Do you have a gift list this holiday season? Lake City Books is Madison's knockout downtown indie bookstore with new and used books for all ages. They're open 7 days a week in December, so you can shop anytime. Or you can actually reserve the whole bookstore for a holiday happy hour with friends or coworkers. You bring the snacks and wine, they provide the private shopping time in their festively decorated space. There's no fee for that, just a purchase minimum. Shop local this holiday season at Lake City Books on North Hamilton Street and lakecitybooks.com. Experience the zoo after hours under the glow of over 1 million lights. Zoo Lights runs November 22nd through December 23rd on select dates. Expect unlimited carousel rides, Santa photos, and adult beverages for purchase. It's $12 for single tickets or $4 for $40, and kids under 3 are free. Special nights include a PJ night on December 7th, a sensory-friendly night on December 10th, and a character night with Paw Patrol and more on December 11th. Get tickets today at henryvilaszoo.gov/lights. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about.
Balancing a household budget is one thing, but balancing a budget for an entire county with a multi-million-dollar deficit looming in the background, well, that's a whole other story. I'm CityCast Madison executive producer Haley Sperling, sitting in for your host Bianca Martin, and joining me today to dig into how the county made some of these hard decisions is Dane County executive herself, Melissa Agard. Melissa, welcome back to CityCast Madison.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So earlier this month, the county passed the 2026 budget, which includes more than $825 million in operating funds and more than $90 million in capital investments. Regular listeners of our show may recall that the county is facing a deficit that resulted in cuts across the board. Melissa, from where you are sitting, from your point of view as county executive, is this the budget that you wanted?
Absolutely not. In fact, shortly after I was elected, roughly a year ago in the special election, I sat down and I met with our Department of Administration and our comptroller to get an idea of where the fiscal house for the county was at. And I was surprised in that meeting to learn that there had been a structural deficit carried forward throughout Dane County for a number of years. And I think it is important for us all to realize the responsibility that the county executive is elected to and the county board is elected to is to make sure that we are providing high quality services for people in the county and doing it in a fiscally responsible way. So, having come off of a really robust campaign with all sorts of wonderful ideas of what I wanted to do to make my mark on the community and lift up the voices and the values of my neighbors, I was, faced with the reality. Nothing about this budget was what I had dreamed about doing or what I imagined that we were going to be able to do for the folks who live, work, and play right here in Dane County. But I was elected to do hard things and rolled up my sleeve and announced the earliest listening session that we can find any county executive to engage with people in our community and other thoughtful leaders to see what we could do to tighten our belt before we rolled into the actual budget season. It was at that point that we slowed down hiring, that I foreshadowed for our department heads that to anticipate beginning point of a 4% cut within their departments to bring to me, and looked at creative opportunities for us to save additional money based on the levers that I have access to. Some of those didn't cross the finish line before the actual budget requests were put out to the department heads, which meant that we had to pivot. And, putting together a budget is about lifting up the values and the voices of the people in your community, as well as ensuring that you are living within your means. And certainly it was sticky, it was complicated, it was frustrating, but I am proud of where it is that we landed to the budget that we put forward to the county board. And I know that the county board had hard work to do once the budget was before them.
I know it was a lot of back and forth, and there's definitely a lot to unpack with that. But to clarify, was it the deficit overall that caught you off guard, or just the gravity of it, the fact that it's, $30 million that you weren't aware of?
Both. I mean, when I've talked to people across the county, it was clear to them that this was not a flag that was waved under previous administrations. And overall, people understand the importance of being prudent with our tax dollars. They are hard earned by the people that send them to us. And we need to take very seriously how it is that we are investing in them, and also make sure that we are coloring within the lines that are set before us by our state and federal partners.
I mean, how is it that no one raised those flags earlier? Like, truly, there isn't a way that no one didn't see this coming, right?
Well, I can't answer that question. Previous county boards, clearly were involved in putting those budgets together, and previous county executives. I am here now, and I am committed to continuing to work hard in the best interest of our county in ensuring that we are continuing to deliver operational excellence, high quality services across our community, and that we're not pitting our services against one another. I really do believe that our budget and the way county government works benefits from looking at it more like a jigsaw puzzle than a tightrope walk, right?
Yeah, of course. And I do want to note that, of course, this was your first budget as county executive, but not your first time passing a county budget. You were a supervisor for multiple years, but digging a little bit deeper into some of the specifics into next year's budget, I want to get into some of the biggest pieces of this $900+ million pie, because that's a lot of money. One of the biggest pieces of this budget is the county's human services budget. And we recently spoke with Supervisor Yogesh Chawla last week, and he said that the Human Services Department is facing a roughly 5% reduction in funds of what they asked for. But there's at least one bright spot here from this, in that there's being more money invested into addressing homelessness through renovating the Beacon, through a roughly $1 million commitment to the upcoming permanent men's shelter right here in Madison. As we know, homelessness is on the rise here in Dane County. And with that in mind, and with the budget so carefully and painstakingly crafted, I have to imagine that that could feel like a solid win for you and for the county.
So I look at the over $900 million worth of money, close to $1 billion worth of money that our budget entails. And I am really proud of what it is that Dane County provides to our community. And I think to me, it's important not only to know what our challenges were, but to also celebrate all of the good that we do. Every single one of those dollars is thoughtfully invested in our community to ensure that we are providing high quality of life, that we are ensuring that people are safe and that they are more healthy and that they have opportunities to recreate with that lens of fiscal responsibility. And this budget did do significant work to invest in Dane County's values, regardless of where it is that people live. We invested more than close to $2.4 million in shelter services. Dane County invests more in shelter services right here in Dane County than the state of Wisconsin invests in the whole entire state of Wisconsin. We put an additional $10 million into the Affordable Housing Fund, ensuring that we're providing more access to affordable housing. We are investing over $60 million in health and social services through our public health department. And part of that is included in a new opioid settlement position within the county so that we can coordinate how it is that we support people who are living their life with addiction and do work in prevention, as well as providing a path towards recovery when people are ready for that. We invested $10 million in our conservation fund in new parks initiatives, building upon our investment into our land and waters and providing access to that shared resource that many of us define Dane County by. It's a reason why a lot of people continue to live here, including paths for multimodal transportation and investments in areas to increase accessibility to our public lands for people with different abilities. We are investing over $16 million into infrastructure and transportation projects right here in Dane County. Our county roads and bridges are vitally important for people who are doing their work, whether they're farmers or whether you're a recreator and want to take bike rides. or you are simply navigating to get from home to work. We are investing in EMS capacity by providing another ambulance for our rural neighbors to be able to use when their ambulances go down through our emergency management department. We're upgrading our 911 center. We are investing in the Alliant Energy Center as well as the Dane County Regional Airport to support our robust and growing economy. The list of things that we have done here with this budget are impressive. And I think one of the things that we need to keep track of is that the heartbeat of that work is our county employees. And protecting and preserving the people who work for the county was a number one priority for me. And I'm really proud that through this budget, we were able to ensure that no county employees lose their jobs, that they're going to be able to continue to come to work and provide these high quality of services that people have come to expect. But I do realize that there are going to be some challenges because I have also instituted a hiring freeze for 2026 because I anticipate that the next budget is going to continue to be very challenging.
I do think that is so important, just echoing the work that the county is doing, because a lot of it, I think, is very unsung. That is kind of a through line of the conversation that I had with Yogesh earlier, is that people just don't understand the work of the county. And it employs so many people. And I know one of the issues that has been contributing to this looming deficit is the rising costs of employee health cares. Have you started to address how the county can help combat those increasing costs, or what some steps will have to be taken in the future to deal with that issue?
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that, and we've seen this at the national level, the debate about accessibility and affordability of healthcare for people in our nation is not unique to us here in Dane County. And in fact, caused our whole federal government to shut down for the longest government shutdown in the history of our nation. We are not exempt from the rising costs of healthcare. I worked hard to engage with our county employees, our employee groups, about whether or not there were some potential savings by renegotiating a contract with our primary healthcare provider here within the county. We have a committee of county employees called the Insurance Advisory Committee that oversees this work. So I put something before them before I even put my budget out to see if there was an appetite to find some potential savings for this year's budget. The employee groups and the Insurance Advisory Committee chose not to make a recommendation after the committee met for a number of times, had robust conversations. Our amazing employees here in Dane County, they do a lot, and they've really held the line when it comes to the costs of health insurance. But when we talk to the 600,000 people that live here within Dane County, they want to make sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's, doing things in the most effective way. And my hope is that the Insurance Advisory Committee that exists is going to work right now, having this conversation right now, because again, I raised this flag, I brought it to them, and this problem is not going to go away. We're going to need to address it in a collaborative, thoughtful, and probably uncomfortable manner. It's not something that any of us want to be doing. It's not something that I took any joy in suggesting, but the reality is we've got a long-term structural deficit that needs to be addressed. And healthcare is one of those rising costs, partly because since 2017, the county has added an additional 500 paid positions. That cost to continue for those additional positions adds up, not just with health insurance, but longevity raises and step increases and the services that they are providing to the county. And again, I want to do what I can to protect our employees. I want to make sure that they are at the table for these conversations. Unfortunately, this one is not going away. It's going to continue happening here for us at Dane County.
You know that one outlet you have that's obviously overloaded? Things to remember about November: there's less daylight, space heaters are coming out, holiday lights are going up, and that's an electrical stress test. For $149, Cardinal checks outlets, switches, circuits, panels, and delivers a report with plain English next steps, so you can host Thanksgiving without praying the breaker holds. Schedule now at cardinalservice.com or call 608-291-9551.
We've been talking a lot about safety and human services. And, on the other side of safety is law enforcement. And I know that one point of contention in this budget season was funding for the Dane County Sheriff's Office. There was a lot of disputes over what cuts the department should and should not make. And ultimately, Dane County Sheriff Calvin Barrett went on a little bit of a PR blitz to advocate for his department. And there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between the sheriff's priorities and the county's financial reality. Do you think that the decision reached within the budget that you've signed, which was to freeze 20 unfilled positions within the Dane County Sheriff's Office, was a fair compromise between keeping law enforcement with what it needs, but also, again, balancing these really hard decisions for the county's financial future?
So I, first of all, don't think that we need to be pitting any department against any other department or any position against any other position. That was a choice that the county board made to take funding away from one department and add it to another department. And I would prefer that that is not a path that we go forward through. It is under their purview to be able to do that. My mission and goal with this budget was to focus on maintaining high quality core services while ensuring that we are meeting the health and safety needs of people across Dane County. I think that everyone defines safety in a very different way. And we need to realize that people who live in Cambridge and Marshall, in Primrose and Mazo-Maney have a very different definition of what public safety and health and human needs are than people who live in the core urban areas of Dane County. It is vitally important that we realize that public safety and human services are interconnected and essential to everyone in the well-being of our residents here in Dane County. If you're living in unincorporated area in Dane County, it is probably the sheriff's deputy that is going to know if there is a child in need of protective services, or if there is a senior who is falling frequently, or someone isn't paying their utility bills. They're having challenges being able to take care of themselves in their homes. And like the district attorney, the sheriff and the clerk of courts are their own elected officials. So at the end of the day, the sheriff, the district attorney, the clerk of courts, they are different than our department heads when I work with them when it comes to budgeting, because they are constitutional officers and they don't report to me. I can't hold them to that same level of accountability. But at the end of the day, the removal of the funds from those 20 positions in the sheriff's department is going to create more fiscal challenges for the county next year, because many of our sheriffs are working overtime because we don't have enough people on the road to support those rural communities. Because there aren't enough folks, the people that are there are required to do overtime when they should be home resting and recovering with their families. I would prefer that there are new bodies in those positions rather than having that overtime. But by scooping the dollars out of those 20 positions in the sheriff's department, we do not have a place to absorb those overtime dollars. Ultimately, whether those positions were full or they were not full, the dollars themselves were allocated to the public safety needs across Dane County. I am committed to working with the sheriff and with our leaders across the county to ensure that we are able to meet the constitutional needs and the vital needs of people across our community, regardless of where it is that they live. But I do believe that there will be some additional challenges and potential fiscal cliffs that we will be facing because we don't have that cushion to absorb those dollars.
Yeah, again, a very complex issue with a lot of different factors on the table. I want to turn to a bit of some of the unsung work that the county does, which is a lot, frankly. But, from where I'm sitting, I've never really considered a lot of the contract work that the county does with various local nonprofits. But earlier this year, my eyes were more opened to, that type of work when multiple agencies, including the Dane County Humane Society and Tellurian Detox Center, spoke out to media saying that they did not have the funds that they needed from the county to execute on the work that they were contracted to do with Dane County. And in DCHS's case, that is state mandated work. As the county moves forward into this future, into a more uncertain budget season, how can it help reaffirm and be an established, a trusted partner to these agencies who are providing such critical services?
It's vitally important that the county and our purchase of service community trust one another and work hand in glove. I will say, yes, the many of the services that are provided and contracted, provided by the Humane Society to Dane County are under mandate, but many of the services that they are providing currently are not mandated. And I am committed to continuing to sit down and have conversations with all purchase of service agencies, and my staff that oversees those contracts are meeting with them and having conversations to ensure that that trusted relationship continues to be able to be there. But at the end of the day, we need to be paying very close attention to mandates that are provided by federal and state partners, how it is that we deliver on those mandates. And with our non-mandated services, we need to pay very close attention to the outcomes, to the results. Are these services that were created and provided 20 years ago because there was a real need and our society has changed? And really, there would be a better way to invest those dollars to meet the current needs of our community. Or did we do something because it was innovative and we all agreed it seemed like a good idea? Thing with innovation is sometimes you don't get the results that you were expecting. So do we need to claw some of that back and try going at it from a different direction, or tightening our belts because some of the services are not mandated and we continue to live in a reality that we have a federal government who currently provides roughly 10% of the funding for the county. And that's really unpredictable funding. We're, getting contracts with them with concerning language. We don't know what type of partner they're going to be. So being very thoughtful about outcomes, mandated services, and the values of our community, not only internally with our county employees, but externally with our county partners through the purchase of service community, as well as the values of the 600,000 growing population here in Dane County. We are the fastest growing county in the state of Wisconsin, and which comes with that is some excitement and opportunity, but also a real responsibility. We need to ensure that we're continuing to maintain an affordable place for people to live. And there are folks out there that are already raising their hand and saying, I am concerned about the affordability here in Dane County. So it is not easy, as you continue to point out. There is always more work to do. And I think that more curiosity and more trust are vital in order for the county to continue to deliver what it is that our neighbors and friends are expecting from us.
Yeah. And I know we're running out of time here, so I'll leave you with one question that I'm hoping can bring a little bright spot into this conversation, because, there are a lot of hard decisions on the table. And as we've alluded to throughout this conversations, we know that next year there is going to be possibly even more extensive cutting when it comes to the county's budget. But having undergone this back and forth of the 2026 budget and now thinking about 2027, with all this new information and knowledge that you've since gained, what learnings are you taking with you for planning in 2027? And what gives you hope for the future of Dane County as we inch closer to facing this massive deficit?
Yeah. So I have grown up here. I'm raising my kids here. This has always been my home, and I've always believed it to be a very special place. But having the privilege of serving as county executive for this last year during some of the most challenging times in our county, in our community's history, experiencing the Abundant Life shooting and the Trump election and the fiscal challenges that the county is facing and so much more. I am so heartened by the compassion that people show for one another, the ability to be creative and innovative and bring solutions to the table, the ability to be bold and open-hearted through this process. We really do live in a special place. And I think in the same way that I want to focus more on what our $900 million invested into our community are going to do for the good as opposed to the cuts, I like to think about all of the good, the amazing people that we get to work with, that I get to represent. And it really puts, an exclamation mark behind the story when we think about how many people want to come here. The fact that we are continuing to grow and shine and thrive, even in times of adversity when some of our families and neighbors are really, really scared. And I can't say that I'm any different. I wake up every day afraid of what it is that is going to happen and wash up on us. But That is the responsibility that comes with the privilege of this job. And I can't imagine doing this anywhere else. I am proud of our community and look forward to shinier, more bright days ahead. But as we continue to navigate the challenges that we are facing, I'm glad that I'm able to do it here.
Well, County Executive Melissa Agard, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
That's Dane County Executive Melissa Agard. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm executive producer Haley Sperling, sitting in for your host, Bianca Martin. Don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. And if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, head to our website at madison.citycast.fm because we're sending out a holiday local shopping guide on Tuesday. Watch your inboxes on Tuesday with great places for you to shop locally this holiday season. There's really no better feeling than supporting our local business community. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with someone who cares how their money is spent, especially when it comes to public funds? Help us spread the word about CityCast Madison. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care and thanks for listening.